Hello, my fellow Big Brother feed watchers and obsessors. We have another full day of gaming in the Big Brother 27 house to talk about. I feel like I have a lot to talk about, especially since it's probably going to be my last video until Friday after we have a new HOH. Because, yeah, I don't like recording after the eviction because the feeds usually aren't on for several hours until the wee hours of the morning come Friday. So, yeah. As for the past day, let's start with last night because in yesterday's video I talked about Mickey and Morgan having their falling out. And like I said in the video, I didn't think it was going to last very long. I didn't expect it to be all fixed by last night. But it was. Mickey and Morgan, had their spat and then they talked it out. And by the end of the night, once again, Morgan was able to convince Mickey that keeping both Zach and Vinny is best for their games. The fact is that last week during her HOH, because she got out Jimmy, Mickey did box herself into that 4 with Morgan, Vince, and Zach, even though that is a 3 that would probably help Morgan more than her. But Morgan continues to convince Mickey that Vince and Zach aren't only good for her game, but Mickey's as well. And then today, Morgan has been trying to convince Zach to tell Mickey about his power in hopes of making sure that Mickey picks him over either Vince or Keanu. I don't know if Zach should be... Zach went from not spilling his power at all to now he's going to tell... He told Morgan already, and now he might tell Mickey as well. And I just feel like Zach would have been safer just using his power this week. But I guess he didn't want to give Ava $10,000. And now he might risk himself missing out on $750K. I don't know if he should tell Mickey for several reasons. And even during this conversation with Morgan and Zach, Morgan had points as well as to why he maybe shouldn't tell Mickey, because she might become upset that Morgan knew this info days before she did. And it's true. If Mickey learns about this power, if Zach tells her, Mickey is going to be upset with someone. I don't know if that means she's going to be upset with Morgan again. I don't know if that means she's going to be upset with Zach and actually want to vote him out now. But anytime Mickey gets new information, she becomes upset with someone. I don't know who that's going to be yet, but it's going to be someone. That is going to be a fact. So we'll see if Zach actually does tell her. He's saying he wants to tell her before Blockbuster. I don't know if that means last minute tomorrow. I just don't know. I think he should, if he's going to do it, he should do it sooner rather than later, because who knows how Mickey is going to spiral with this information. But I want to put some respect on Morgan's game once again. Something I've had to do the past 3 days now. She has a lot of stupid decision making. Well, she just says a lot of stupid shit. That's Morgan's problem. She talks too damn much, rambles on and on and on, cares too much about Zach's game. Those are all facts. But Morgan has been so hardcore about keeping both of her allies this week, and she might get her way. And in a house, like I've already been saying these past couple days, in a house that doesn't even really try and keep their allies, in Mickey's case, someone who got their ally out last week, in Rachel's case, who was so passive about keeping her allies, which we're going to get to, Morgan sticking up for her allies, I think is a good thing. Now, yes, it could also grow her own target, but it's some of the smartest game decisions we've seen this season. So I will commend Morgan once again for that. Now let's get to the tensions that continue to rise between Mickey and Rachel. Their disdain for each other is growing after vague conversations today. When Mickey walked out of her room, Rachel talked to the cameras that obviously she doesn't like her, and she doesn't. And Rachel has become one of Mickey's immediate targets going forwards. And in typical Mickey fashion, last night she was telling Ashley that she doesn't like how much Rachel tries to hang around Ashley, and she's been trying to put it in Ashley's mind that her association with Rachel might get Ashley put up on the block next to Rachel. Similar to when Ashley was too close to Amy, this is Mickey trying to isolate Ashley and Rachel from each other. Rachel already sees this happening, though. She sees Mickey and Morgan trying to not only ice her out from Ashley, but from everything. It's because, Mickey and Morgan have no finesse in their gameplay. So Rachel's obviously seeing this, and Rachel's obviously seeing, and Ashley too. They both talked about it, that Mickey's been following Ashley around the house, and anytime Ashley and Rachel have been together these past few days, here comes Mickey to break that up. So they are definitely trying to keep them away from each other. And then today, Zach made the tensions worse between Mickey and Rachel when Zach did reveal the information that Rachel gave him when they were tied together, well, spent hours together with their punishment this week, when Rachel revealed to Zach that Mickey was basically trying to get Zach out of the game earlier this week, which is true, talking about how he had $10,000 and they should vote him out. And that's a fact. So I don't know how I feel about Zach bringing that information back to Mickey, but that's what he decided to do. And so that just, of course, grew Rachel's target to Mickey even bigger. Mickey was already feeling some kind of way about Rachel, wanting her out before jury now, since Rachel is so gung-ho about not being in jury, that Mickey now wants to get Rachel out immediately. The other fact is, though, to me, Mickey is outplaying Rachel. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Mickey is overplaying, period. But Rachel continues to be way too passive in saving allies. The Amy thing, there wasn't too much she can do, and she did try to have those conversations. But last week, Mickey kept telling her she wanted to put up Jimmy, and Rachel gave no pushback. Rachel did not push back on that nomination at all, and I think that was a mistake by Rachel. Of course, after the fact, she wanted to save Jimmy, and then she still didn't really try that hard when Jimmy was on the block. And then last minute on the live show, she's trying to save Jimmy. It's too passive from Rachel to me, trying to save these allies. And I feel like because of that, she might come down to, if she's trying to save Keanu this week, I feel like she's being passive again, and it's going to come down to the blockbuster again, much like it did with Jimmy last week. And for someone that is complaining about everyone talking about bringing her to jury, which I get why she's insulted by that. I would be too. Like, jury is like, everyone's acting like jury is winning the game, and it's not. But for someone who's so gung-ho about not being in jury and either going home before jury or making it to the end of the game, that passive gameplay isn't the type of game she should be playing then. She should be playing balls to the wall, trying to win this game. And I feel like she came into this game wanting to rehabilitate her image and her social game. And her social game is a lot better than her social game in her past 2 seasons. But this passiveness, it just doesn't work for a Rachel type of game. And yeah, I need the passiveness to go away. It really is not working. And against Mickey, who is trying to be a dictator over everything, yeah, she's overplaying. But if she keeps pushing, she's going to get her way more than Rachel possibly. Now, I see some people online starting to say that Mickey is running the house, which is crazy to me. I mean, she wants to be running the house, and she's trying very hard, but a lot of that is delusion. And frankly, it's impossible to say that Mickey is running the house when her mind has literally changed who her target is every single day this week. Her mind has changed every day. She started the week really wanting either Vince or Zach out. And then she became tunnel visioned on how Zach needs to go this week and Keanu needs to stay. And then slowly it's been, Keanu actually needs to be the one to go. But then yesterday her and Morgan had a fight and she was back to wanting Zach out last night until talking to Morgan again last night, and now she's back on keeping Vince and Zach. Way too all over the place to actually be running the game. But, she does push harder than a lot of people are pushing, and that could still make her get her way. However, to say she's running the game, it's not happening. Even her conversations tonight, she is starting to have some bad conversations. She had a terrible conversation with Ava today, trying to convince Ava that both Zach and Vince need to stay, even though that's been Ava's main point this week, is that one of them needs to go, specifically Vince, although to Vince's credit, he had a really good talk with Ava yesterday, and right now, Ava is more so wanting Zach out, and Zach has just not played the block very well. Despite not using his power, Zach has been acting way too hurt about being on the block this week, and there is that tension towards Ava, so I kind of understand where Ava's coming from, wanting Zach out over Vince if there happens to be a tie between those two. But in this conversation, Mickey was trying to convince Ava that Keanu needs to go if there's a tie with Keanu in either one of the other two nominees. And in this conversation, Mickey was basically telling Ava what she's going to do. Not suggesting it, no, telling Ava she's going to break the tie to get Keanu out, which is kind of the way Mickey Mussolini is now playing most of her conversations, just trying to tell everyone what they're going to do because she's trying to control everything. Ava did not come away from that conversation impressed with Mickey, though. In fact, she was actually confused. And by the end of the day, she talked to Keanu earlier, and she's going to be voting for Keanu to stay if there's a tie, although I don't know if there's going to be a tie if Keanu stays on the block. But that was one conversation where Mickey sucked it up. Today, she also tried to go to Kat and Riley about the people that need to leave soon, dropping Rachel's name needing to go soon, dropping Keanu's name needing to go soon, even dropping Lauren's name to Kat, that Lauren needs to go soon. And I don't think that conversation went well for her either. That is Mickey's blind spot, and it's Riley, and I still don't understand why, and why Mickey thinks she really has Riley and Kat in the bag right now. I guess it's just more of her delusions. Now, as Dina the Explorer pointed out in the comments last night, shout out to Dina, stating that Mickey has no self-awareness, and that's frankly the big reason why I can't root for Mickey. Well, that and that she's just so dumb sometimes. But, I can root for a villain when that villain embraces being a villain. But Mickey continues to not only hide behind religion at times, but she thinks everyone is acting weird with her when she's the one that starts acting weird with them because she's always turning on allies. And that is her lack of self-awareness. And that's just what keeps me being able to root for Mickey right now, even though I do enjoy a good villain, and she's kind of giving that, but the delusions, the dumbness, the lack of self-awareness, it is too much. Also, a conversation in the comments of my last video is, why is Mickey not confronting Rachel about things? And that was a good question. Is Mickey afraid of Rachel? It kind of seems that way because she has so much energy for everyone else, well, other than Riley. But she also does not have that energy for Rachel. I don't know why Mickey doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with Rachel, because Rachel's so terrible in arguments. She tends to lose arguments. And, Mickey can be mean, so I think she might eat Rachel up in an argument. But I guess, I don't know. The tension is brewing. Something's got to give. I will say Rachel's not really stepping to Mickey either. And Rachel's starting to get irritated by Mickey. We saw Rachel go off on Morgan. Morgan's an easy victim because she will kind of back off and almost maybe play the victim. But yeah, a Rachel versus Mickey argument, I kind of want to see it. We'll see if we get there at some point. Let's talk about Keanu because, Mickey's not the only delusional one. I still think Keanu is the king of delusions in the house. I really do feel that way. He is the reason that this week is starting to actually kind of turn against him. He started the week doing good. He was having a good social game. He made Ava want to keep him despite nominating him, which, by the way, Ava nominating Keanu, like I said at the beginning of the week, might be the grave mistake. It should have been Morgan the whole time. If you wanted to split up that trio, that's what you needed to do. But putting up Keanu now, he might go home, and it's kind of his fault too. In my opinion, Keanu has done a better job of saving Vince this week, who is also on the block against him. He just brings too much info to Vince, and it's getting so old. And Rachel stands annoyed me today. I knew this point in the season was going to come. We have reached the point in the season that if you're not playing for Rachel to win, you're playing bad. The fact is, everyone's mostly playing bad, including Rachel herself. But fans were today upset with Ashley because now Ashley is considering keeping Zach over Vince if it comes down to those two on the block. But the fact is, Keanu puts in no work with Ashley. He should know he might need Ashley's vote, but he doesn't really try. But you know who's tried all week? Zach. I mean, I have to give Zach credit for that. Even though Ashley and Zach started this week with some pretty bad feelings for each other, Zach has put in the work with Ashley this week and Keanu has not. Plus, Ashley and Lauren have been having a lot of game conversations these past 2 days, and I don't know if that's good or bad for Ashley and Lauren, but I feel like this vote honestly is a lose-lose for Ashley either way, because Zach is still not throwing Ashley's name out there as much, but he still is. He said at one point he wants to nominate like Callie, Kat, and Ashley. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if he would. Because if you're going to nominate Kat, you might as well just throw Riley up there as well, because he's going to be pissed. So we'll see if that comes down to that, if Zach even survives this week. But yeah, I can't blame Ashley for thinking Keanu is bad for her game, because Keanu doesn't try with Ashley, and Zach does. That's just what the Rachel stands are going to have to realize. Plus, has Keanu ever been a good ally for Rachel in this game so far at all when Rachel continues to try for him? My question is, what has Keanu done that's been good for Rachel's game? I'll wait. Because the answer is nothing. He has done nothing, in fact, but hurt her game every time she's tried to help him. Which is why I've had a hard time feeling sorry for Keanu this week. Because his stupidity does always get in his way. And I get he's the underdog, and I see people in the comments rooting for Keanu, but he's his own worst enemy. And Rachel isn't helping. Rachel should be bringing up the heavy hitters to others, but instead she only brought it up to Keanu and Callie, two of the messiest, worst players in the game. Instead of bringing it up to like Riley, Kat, Ashley, if she really wants Vince or Zach out this week, specifically Vince like she does, she should be fighting harder to make that happen, but it's so passive. A few other things before we get to my thoughts on the votes. I like that Will and Ashley did dog Mickey last night about always asking them who she should sit next to in Final Two. I talked about this at some point earlier this week in a video that she was doing this with them. They finally did talk to each other about it and how absurd it is, how Mickey thinks she's running the game, how Will and Ashley have a good grasp on Mickey, but I think they still think they need Mickey for now, which they do, kinda. I mean, she's so all over the place sometimes. I don't know how good she really is for their games. But as it stands right now, I see why they have to work with her until she gets too much for them. I don't think Mickey's ever really threw Will under the bus. She does Ashley all the time, though. We also have to touch upon the latest creepiness between Riley and Kat today. Riley telling Kat that, and I quote, I'm being with you outside of this, whether you like it or not. These are the kind of statements Riley's always making to Kat, like she has no choice in his weirdo-ness. Later saying he's going to marry Kat after the show. I'm sick of these two and their weird awkwardness. Like, that conversation was so awkward. I don't know how anyone else on this cast cannot see how creepy Riley is, but he is such a creep. Let's get to my thoughts on this votes real quick. Here's where I see it standing right now, since I don't think I'll make another video before the vote tomorrow. If it comes down to Keanu and Vince, as it stands right now, Rachel, Will, Ashley, Callie might vote against Vince. And Callie is a question mark. I mean, I know Callie is telling Keanu she's voting for him no matter what, but I don't completely buy that. Voting against Keanu for sure would probably be Lauren, Zach, Morgan, Kat, Riley, Mickey likely as well as it stands right now. So that would be a 6-4 vote, maybe even a 7-3 vote for Vince to stay. I have Mickey in all my votes as a question mark because as gung-ho as she is today about keeping Vince and Zach, anything could happen to make her find a new target. Especially if Zach tells her the info about his power. I have no idea how Mickey's going to react to that and who's going to be the person she's mad at. But I guess we'll find out. If it comes down to Keanu and Zach, this is how I see it. And this is kind of an interesting vote. I see Rachel, Kat, Riley, Callie voting out Zach for sure. Kat really wants Zach out. I know Mickey thinks she can make Kat and Riley do whatever she wants, but I think they would vote against Zach. Voting against Keanu would be Lauren, Morgan, Will. And as it stands right now, Ashley is saying she would vote out Keanu against Zach. And if Mickey is doing that too, that's already 5. And I would assume Vince would vote out Keanu as well, making Zach safe this week. Keanu going. My wild cards in this vote, though, are Ashley, Mickey, and even Vince, because Vince can be quite a flip-flopping voter. He wants to be on the right side. He has a working relationship with Keanu and Zach. I can't see him voting out Zach over Keanu, though, because Vince knows how dumb Keanu is. But Keanu is like someone who always runs him information. Keanu is Vince's number one stan. So Vince might want to keep Keanu. So to me, Keanu versus Zach is probably the closest vote as it stands right now. Although Vince and Zach would be close too. Because I see Keanu, Kat, and Riley for sure voting against Zach. I see Rachel, Morgan, Ashley, Will for sure voting against Vince. Will is saying he wants to keep Zach because Zach gave him the vacation. Lauren, I think, leans towards voting out Zach. She has a better game relationship with Vince, so that's a 4-4 vote. Callie for sure votes out Zach. That's 5 votes against Zach. Mickey would be the possible tie if Zach tells her about the power and that either makes her keep Zach or makes her want to vote Zach out. I don't know. But even if it comes down to a tie, Ava is leaning voting out Zach. Somehow we've gotten to a point where Vince probably stays this week over anyone, which is crazy. He should have been the main target coming into this week. I think him going is best for the game because it really opens up the game, as I talked about yesterday. But unfortunately, this cast is dumb. So Vince is probably the safest of the 3 nominees as it stands tonight. Ava could change her mind, I guess. But Vince has done better on the block than Zach. It's just a fact. He's played better. He had a good conversation with Ava yesterday, so that if it does come down to a tie, right now Ava is more upset with Zach than Vince. So Vince could leave this week still being quite the front runner to win this game, but maybe they'll surprise me tomorrow night and Vince goes home. And we'll see what the latest drama Mickey has for us all. I have no idea what she's going to do tonight or tomorrow, especially if Zach gives her this info about the power. Anything could happen when it comes to Mickey Mussolini we'll see what she tries to dictate after tonight.